Hello, everyone. Hello.
Howdy.
Howdy. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how's it
Hi.
going?
Welcome back to another episode of Minnesota Medleys.
Or how you
everyone.
be.
Or how you be.
How you be.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a new one to me.
Hmm.
Thank you to all who have downloaded and otherwise listened to our previous episode that we put out just a few days ago. That, of course, was Hot Dish. We had a ton of fun doing it. We ended up very hungry. So,
I might have drooled.
you did.
I
You
did.
Might have. This episode, we are talking about lakes.
Lakes.
Again, a reminder, Minnesota Medleys is about all things Minnesota. Yes, lakes exist in other states. I have been told.
Apparently, but they
Yep.
don't proclaim it on their license
Yep.
plate.
And good point.
Yeah.
Right. And lakes are just so special to Minnesotans. People have cabins on them. They have family that live on them. Everybody's got a lake memory.
I always feel like I need to be located near a body of water, and typically it's a lake.
Yeah. When you say always located near,
I need to dwell near
okay.
a body of water.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
Right down the hill here, we've got
Yep, we've got a lake near us. Yep.
I
Yeah.
grew up across the street from a lake.
Yeah.
We live in a town with a river.
Yep. Yeah. Lakes are, well, we'll get more. Into
Yeah,
that,
we'll talk about
obviously. Just a little reminder off the top here, our website that we would love for you to visit and click follow on is minnesotamedleys.podbean.com. That's minnesotamedleys.podbean.com. We are always welcoming your feedback, your questions, your ideas, your input at minnesotamedleys@gmail.com. And of course, check us out on Facebook.
On the Facebook.
On the Facebook at Minnesota Medleys. You can comment in the comments. You can share your thoughts and dreams and ideas and plans on Messenger as well. And we did just, by the way, recently, besides the numerous podcast apps on which we are represented, we do have a YouTube channel now as well. If you ever want to go there, you can listen to us. We don't do a video
No.
podcast, maybe someday,
Who knows?
but I feel like we'd really have to straighten up both
Oh, yeah.
the house and ourselves.
That's too much tidying up
It's,
to have to do.
Not interested.
No.
So we should get on to lakes. Jess has done a really nice job here. She went and spoke to the DNR people on the intraweb, and
Spoke is a little bit loose there.
okay, you
I
punched in DNR lake facts.
yeah, I
Okay.
did. Minnesota DNR,
Do you want to just take over right here?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Let's start with what we know about some
Absolutely.
lakes
I mean, honestly, we have to start where? But one of the Great Lakes, one of the greatest of the Great Lakes. Well, it is the greatest, in my opinion. That would be Lake Superior.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Lake Superior. There's something about that lake. It is an incredible body of water. In fact, it is the largest freshwater lake in the world. I repeat, in the world. It is like 31,700 square miles in surface area, which is mind-blowing.
It's the third largest in the world when it comes to volume.
Yep, and Lake Superior itself holds 10% of the world's surface fresh water.
That's a ton of water.
And so basically, I just, my mouth hangs open every time I drive along the North Shore and I see that lake and you can't see the other side. You kind of have this feeling of, is it really just a lake? I mean, it's got to be an ocean because it's gargantuan in size.
You know what always gets me up there is when you come over that hill on 35 coming into Duluth.
Yeah.
When you first see it, it's just, I mean, I not to get too sidetracked here on memories, but I feel like I remember the first time seeing it, maybe 7, 8 years old, and it is still the same feeling.
Yeah.
And
It's like awe
or
and
when and then when you are driving alongside of
Yeah.
it through Duluth and that kind of thing, and you get glimpses of it between the homes, and then when you have the full on view of it every time
exciting.
and you're driving north,
Yeah.
well, northeast, and every time you look to the right, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's
anyway,
incredible. Sadly, we can't claim it as our own, though. I mean, we have to share it with other states and with Canada. I mean, but that's it's just such an
I
interesting.
feel like there's enough of it to go around.
I suppose. That's also the same with Lake of the Woods, I found out too. And
Yes.
I know that I've been there, but I forget that that's another huge one as well.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I forget about it, which is, I guess it's not
Well, it's
often.
not outside your back door.
It's not, but neither is Lake Superior. But I guess because it's a Great Lake, it's maybe mentioned more than Lake of the Woods is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, within our borders, within the state of Minnesota borders, we do have 3 other huge lakes, and actually one is sort of 2, which I found interesting. Red Lake is up there.
Sure.
And according to the Minnesota DNR website, this includes both Upper and Lower Red Lake. That itself is 288,800 acres.
Oh yeah, that's very, very large.
Yeah. And I was just near the other 2 largest lakes just last weekend. Went up north to just outside of Crosby, Minnesota. And there you get to Garrison, and probably a little bit further south there is Mille Lacs Lake. Again, you can't see to the other side.
No.
There are bays, so that's a little deceiving, but there is the greater beyond of the lake.
And then you were in Walker, which of course is
Walker,
on
Leech.
the third largest
Yep.
Leech.
Yep, Leech Lake.
at 111,000 acres. Yeah, I was looking at a map of that lake. Actually, I was looking at Walker.
Walker.
Very cool town. I haven't been there in a while. You and I have talked about how much we'd like to go and stay at
Chase on the Lake.
Chase on the Lake,
Which is on Leech.
which is on Leech. But I saw Chase on the Lake. I was looking at Google Maps, and I kind of, I'm like, okay, this is on Leech, right? And I kind of pinched out of the map, and I realized, no, this is something bay. Well, okay, I go out further. Here's another bay. Here's another bay.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? I'm gonna need
Right.
a bigger phone.
Yeah.
And it of course was Leech Lake, but
Yeah.
all those bays themselves are enormous.
Big.
It's just
Yeah.
a ton of water, but beautiful.
It's really cool. I mean,
Well, another fact: deepest inland lake.
speaking of Crosby.
I was surprised that they categorized this as a lake.
Yeah.
Was Portsmouth Mine Pit
Yeah.
near Crosby,
Yeah.
which is 450 feet deep.
Deep.
That's
And
really
apparently-
deep.
Yeah, really deep, and it's supposedly getting deeper.
That's like 30 stories or a little over. Getting deeper. Okay.
Yep.
And then the deepest natural lake is Lake Saganaga. Is that how you say that?
I think that's exactly how I was going to say
Okay.
it. Yeah.
In Cook County, 240 feet deep.
Yeah. I
Man.
wonder where in Cook County that is, because I think Cook and Crow Wing County are like right up where I was too. So
Oh, okay.
it's interesting because it's like the Brainerd Lakes area. There are just countless lakes.
Yeah, yep.
Countless.
Well, if anybody out there has been on Lake Saganaga, tell us what you like about it.
Yeah,
Send us an email. I'd love to
absolutely.
hear about it because we're always looking for new places to visit and maybe bike around or kayak on or maybe rent a cabin or Airbnb on or
Yeah.
just drive around.
or if there's a path, walk around it.
Well, yeah, depending
Or
on how
part
big
of it.
is.
Yeah.
And then, quick, the top 10 deepest lakes Minnesota go Superior with 1,290 feet. And then 10 Mile Lake in Cass County is 209. Then we go to Lower LaSalle, Loon Lake, Rainy Lake, Leech Lake, Cass Lake, Otter Tail Lake, Lake Minnetonka,
Yep.
and Lake Vermilion.
Yes. Notice there's only one that's down in this area.
Right, yes.
In the
Lake
Twin Cities
Minnetonka,
area,
of
it's
course.
just Minnetonka. Yeah.
Interesting. And
Oh,
then,
and then there's
sadly, there are
bummer,
a
man.
couple of counties, a few counties, Mower,
I
Olmsted,
believe it's Mauer.
Mauer, sorry. Really?
It
I
is
I just bought a new. So I bought a relatively new
Toro
Toro
Mauer.
lawnmower.
Yeah.
Okay. Olmsted, Pipestone, or is
Yes.
that Pipistone?
It would be Pike.
Pipistone. Okay, Pipestone and Rock counties all
Yep.
have no natural lakes.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry,
Oh,
guys.
man.
But human-made lakes.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm curious too if how many I didn't find this statistic.
Yeah.
But how many of those man-made lakes, human-made lakes,
Yeah.
are within the number of lakes that are over 10 acres? Like, what's the largest human-made
Lake.
human?
Yeah.
That's so hard to say.
Yeah. 10 times fast.
How big are they? What's the biggest one? Because in our number of lakes that the DNR is counting, our number is over 10,000 actually. It's
Yeah.
11,842, and then in
To make the
parentheses,
list, it has to
Yeah.
be more than 10
more
acres.
than 10.
10 acres is a pretty small lake.
Is it? I guess
Yeah.
I don't have a perspective of it, but I
Yeah.
suppose a yard is about, you're lucky if you got an acre in your yard.
Oh,
In town.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I think a lot of plots in towns, that kind of thing, sometimes are, I guess, sixth
Quarter
or
yeah.
an eighth
Yeah.
of an acre
Okay, so
sometimes.
teeny tiny. I think I might have just answered my own question, because it might be an acreage type of a thing where it's not going to be considered a lake if it's smaller than. Maybe it's then just a pond.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I hadn't thought of that until all of a sudden I just
Just
went,
now.
duh.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And then under a pond is a big puddle.
Yes, exactly. And then just a
During
Drip.
Yep. 10 most common lake names. Some of you may have heard of these or more than one of them. We have Mud, Long, Rice,
Bass, Round, Horseshoe, Twin.
and then Island, Johnson, interesting, and Spring.
I know of a few twin lakes.
Yeah, so do I.
Always throws me off because,
Whenever you see a picture like on Facebook,
Yeah.
this is at Twin Lake.
and I'm going,
like-
no, it's not.
No,
That looks
I'm
nothing like
aware of the Twin Lake, the
Exactly.
Twin Lake.
the North Twin or the East or West or
Speaking of the Twin Lake,
Yeah.
I feel like Minnesota is not just the home of 10,000 lakes, but it's home of the lake.
yes.
How many people talk about going up to the
going
lake?
up to the lake? Yeah.
I know people also go up to the cabin and that kind of thing.
More often
but-
you hear him say, I'm going to the lake.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you don't even have to know which lake to which they're referring.
You already have it in
You
your
have an image.
Mm-hmm.
And you immediately have the images of so many different senses when it comes to a lake.
Yeah.
The sounds of a lake.
Yeah.
What sound of crickets at night. The sound of a lake in the morning before all of your cabin neighbors are up.
Oh.
Just gentle lapping. Or maybe the sound of a trolling, somebody just trolling out
Yep.
to their favorite spot.
Yeah.
And is the coolest sound. I love the sound at night if it's quiet enough. It's the right size lake, the right size humidity levels, or wind directions is another one. But ideally, at almost no wind, and you can hear people talking on the
Yeah.
other side of a lake. They don't even have to be talking loud. I
No.
bet a lot of people listening to this who either have cabins or
Yeah.
frequent lakeside resorts or anything like that. If you have a quiet enough night, it's this form of super blatant eavesdropping.
Yeah, like you can't.
It's like I
not.
can't do anything
Yeah.
about this, but it's so neat.
And it's interesting too because you could look around the lake depending on the size of the lake, and you're like you're saying the wind direction and whatnot. They might be on their dock. They might be within their four walls. You know,
Yep.
they may not be
Maybe,
outside.
or maybe somebody on a boat,
Uh-huh.
and you can never tell how far away they are.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's very cool.
It is.
Smells of a lake. You and I have been out. Well, yeah.
Sometimes good, sometimes not.
sometimes not great.
Yeah.
Hot summer day, and you get into the right
Mm-hmm.
sized bay or cove where algae is built up and that kind of thing. Lake's warm. That can be not terribly pleasant. But you and I have been out driving before, and driven near enough a lake. Perhaps it wasn't even within view.
Right.
And we both simultaneously,
Yeah.
because it just hits you.
The lake.
Smell of the lake.
Yeah.
Maybe a hint of that fishy smell a little bit, but I don't find that off-putting in the least. I
Maybe
just
if it's
don't.
slight, I'm okay with
Yeah,
it.
if it's because I believe that as part of the smell of the lake. It means
Yeah.
it's a living thing.
It is.
Um, the weeds that grow around it,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You may have been in fish houses that have
Or boat houses.
boat
Yeah.
houses.
Yep.
Boathouse, yeah, really good point. Or if you're down at even a small marina,
Mm-hmm.
all of these smells that can be associated with the lake,
Mm-hmm.
it's just the way it lights up so many senses.
Yeah, I won't dwell too much on this particular lake because it's not from Minnesota.
And she's gonna dwell on it.
I am so dwelling. Owl Lake in Wisconsin, that's where I spent so much of my life and my childhood and my young adulthood. And Owl Lake is the epitome of a lake to me. And not a big lake, it's a small lake. But, you know, I think about taking our boat rides around the lake, whether it was with my grandpa or my dad, and doing kangaroo jumps over the wake. We always said, do the jumps, Dad, you know, and he'd turn the boat around and go over our wake, so we kind of got the bounces, and we
Yes.
felt like we were kangaroos. But
It's fun doing that to somebody who's on a tube.
oh, I'm sure. See, we never had that fancy type of thing out
Okay.
there. We didn't get pulled behind. We got pulled behind the rowboat, and that was rather slow.
Oh,
You
my
didn't
word.
have much of a wake
No.
then, but you know, you still were hitching a ride anyway.
Yes, so that was out of state. So we're gonna
I'll come back to Minnesota now.
yeah, and we can edit all of that out. So the magic of recording these
Yep.
and knowing where the delete button is. Delete. I
Oh, can I
about-
share a little thing, a little image?
Please.
Diamonds on the lake. That's something my grandma Ev always used to talk about.
Oh.
And that is the sun reflecting on the lake and
yeah.
hitting it at an angle such that it's all sparkly.
Yeah.
And have you ever? This was something I really noticed. You can make them speed up.
Oh, how?
You squint, and you
Oh.
look at it through, and as you squint, the sparkles move faster on the lake.
Oh.
So I guess it's the illusion of them speeding up. You can't really make it speed up. Sorry.
Okay. I thought you.
I'm a magician.
Yeah, I thought you were dabbling in some kind of dark magics that I didn't know about
No,
you.
sorry to disappoint.
Talking about memories, some people in the Twin Cities area, East Twin Cities, may be familiar with Square Lake. One of our friends, Anna, she had mentioned, and when it came to lakes, she immediately thought of Lake Superior, as so many people do.
Yeah, automatic.
And then she said, and she had to reference the clarity of
Oh my gosh.
of Square Lake. I remember being very young, swimming there. The beach isn't. I mean, it's not huge. Oh, it's part of a Square Lake
Like
county
a
park.
regional and county.
Yeah.
Here in Washington
And-
County.
Yep. And the beach is 150 yards long,
Not
maybe.
huge.
Not huge. There's picnic tables and always busy. And I love seeing the huge array of people. I mean, everybody just goes, to Square Lake.
Yeah.
And I just remember being very young, and of course getting hungry because you're swimming.
Yeah.
And the like canteen refreshments,
Concessions. Yeah, the
Thank
concession
you, concession stand. Just being heaven on earth because you could get a Snickers ice cream bar there.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's fancy
it was
stuff.
super fancy, and and it just, oh yeah, just a great place. It was bikeable distance from my parents' place.
Sure.
But there's a drawback to that. If you want to go to the lake, it means it's hot out.
Yep.
So you bike to the lake.
Yeah, and you
swim
sweat
your
buckets.
butt off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so fun and that kind of thing. And you get done and you're tired and you're hungry.
And how do you get home?
And well, I know how you get home. You get on your bike and you hate pedal all the way home. You
You're
pedal.
angry.
And just
And then you
angry
get all
tired.
sweaty and
you're all
hot
sweaty
again.
again.
Yeah.
So I
Because of
really,
course we're in the land
Yeah.
of humidity, and you never dry off.
moral of the story: get a ride to the lake.
Yeah.
I grew up going to a
Or
church.
grab onto a pickup truck and
Oh my gosh.
have them pull you. Sorry.
I grew up going to a church camp up in McGregor, Minnesota, and they had one of the many round lakes.
Yes.
And
yes.
I remember it would maybe it was even the day that we arrived or the next day. Nobody went swimming until you went through swim safety, water safety,
Ooh, the test.
and
They
learning
tested
the buddy system. You know, you'd show up and you with your buddy and you put your tags on the thing together.
Okay.
And then that way, for a quick reference, one of the lifeguards could look at and make sure everybody's got 2 tags on a thing.
Okay.
And I don't remember the ins and outs of it, but if somebody was missing, they'd blow the whistle and everybody had to gather and that kind of thing. And it would happen occasionally. Somebody's buddy would go in and maybe not take their. I don't remember how it worked.
Yeah. Did
I think they would
take
blow a
your
whistle and
tag?
everybody had to like raise their hands, holding their friend's hand.
Sure. So you had
and-
to be near your buddy.
Yeah, you did. You know, a lot of safety and that kind of thing. But again, that was one of those things. Hot summer's day, swimming, and you just can't wait for the canteen to open. So, or hopefully dinner is
Right.
coming up soon.
Right.
Just something about the hunger from
Yeah.
playing in the lake.
It's easy to get hungry when you're in the lake. Yeah.
You had mentioned that you had Square Lake.
Square Lake is one of my specific ones that I always remember. It's one of my favorites, and I just have really good memories of swimming. I don't have memories of the snacks there because we just ate what we brought, and we didn't get to buy anything.
Yeah.
But I do remember going there and, kayaking now. I love the color of the water. It kind of has this like pretty
Clearness.
a clearness, a clarity, a clearness. It's like an aqua, like a rich greenish blue that I just love. And
Well, you had a great line.
was
So Jess and I, a couple of summers ago, were out kayaking on Square Lake, which we're going to be doing again next week. And we were out kayaking, and you looked down, and you said, sometimes this lake kind of reminds me of Lake Tahoe.
was talking about obviously not the mountains and the size of the lake, but I was speaking about the color and the hue of the water and the
Okay.
clarity
Because
of the water.
Tahoe,
is
which I've
very
never been to,
different from Square
yeah,
Lake.
Tahoe's very different.
Yeah.
But apparently both very clear. You've been to both.
Yes.
I haven't.
Gorgeous color
Yeah.
of the water. Absolutely beautiful. The other funny
Wait, didn't back in 80, was it the 84 Winter Olympics were held at Square Lake? Is that
That's good.
Okay,
That's
I
clever.
wasn't
Very
sure. Uh-huh.
clever. So, well, a little popularity for Square Lake, actually, not Olympic sized, but
this was funny?
we're watching, you probably recall this, and you kind of looked at me like, are you serious? We're
well,
sitting here watching the movie
Fargo.
Fargo, which of course is not Minnesota. Fargo is in North Dakota. But we're watching the movie, and all of a sudden, it was the wood chipper scene, I think.
It certainly
It
was.
certainly
the wood
was.
chipper.
And all of a sudden, I'm looking at the scenery in that scene, and I said, wait a minute, pause it for a second. And I said, I recognize that.
Yeah.
this is Square Lake.
Yeah.
And you looked at me like, come on, give me a break.
Well, no,
because I had made the Tahoe comment before that. It was like, oh, here she goes again.
I kind of believed you.
Did you? Kind of?
Well, yeah, I believed you enough to look at filming locations at the end of the credits, and there it was.
There it was.
There it was,
I
yeah.
was correct. Isn't that crazy? I mean, that landscape.
And then the next time we were kayaking, you're like, "There's the barn I saw."
Yeah.
But it tipped you off.
Yeah,
Sure
exactly that.
enough. Anyway,
Yeah, sorry. We digress. Do you have any other lake stories you wanted to share?
I have many lake memories. I guess one that I remember pretty clearly was I was in Ely.
Up there.
And I was up there in Ely, and I don't remember the name of the lake it was on.
Okay.
I rented a cabin, and I was sitting out on a dock late at night.
So you heard everything.
Everything. I mean, of course, up there it's pitch black.
Sure.
And I love being away from light pollution. And got to listen to wolves howl. And at first it was a little scary because, I mean, as beautiful and amazing as they are and how I just love them.
They're wild animals.
They're wild animals.
Sure.
And there is, maybe scared isn't the exact word. There was a chill in me though. It was very exhilarating. I mean, I'm sure it was an adrenaline.
Oh, yeah.
Adrenaline dump, I think is the word.
Yeah. Or rush.
And, and because they sounded like they were at the other end of the dock
Yeah.
for me. And I spoke to a local the next day, and they said, "Yep." But the thing about that too, we were talking about talking across lakes and hearing people. He says, maybe they were somewhat nearby, maybe they were a mile or two away.
Oh.
Just on certain nights, and an animal like that, well, a primary form of communication. So, but sitting out at the lake, surrounded by dark water, dark sky, dark trees, and then for that sound to come out, I was just like, and I am all city boy right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I just have a couple of other quick little stories.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Lake Alice at William O'Brien State Park near Marine on the St. Croix.
Yep.
And it's not
east of the Twin Cities.
Yeah. It's not a spectacular lake, but I just have such memories of being there with my grandparents and my uncles and my mom. My sister and dad was sometimes there. We'd camp at that state park and we would go swim in Lake Alice. And I just always remember Grandpa, even though he was getting older, he still would go out in the lake and swim with us. None of the other adults would come out, but Grandpa was always out there with us, and he would always lace his fingers together and say, "Come on, step on in."
The launch.
Yep, and then you'd step in with one or both feet, depending on how old we were. If we were younger, it was both, but otherwise. And he would just, the man was like strong as an ox, and he would just launch you into the air. And it was so much fun. I just remember it was like a "Grandpa, do it again, kind of. So fun. You can probably tell I'm just it makes me excited to talk about it.
Very fun.
Yeah. And then I think just finally just Lake Superior. I got to go back to it. We started with it. We might as well wrap up with it. Just the experiences of sights and sounds with that lake, and I had the chance to go sailing on Lake Superior for a week. I went as a chaperone with kids from the church that I grew up at. And when I was in college, my youth director said, "Hey, you want to come along?" And I was, yes. Yeah. And that lake, it was just, and to be out there and sailing across it, a little eerie when all he would play for a period of time was the Edmund Fitzgerald, the song. Yep. He kept playing that over and over, and it was like, please stop. But we don't want to repeat history.
Song. Yeah.
But it was so great. And you talk swimming in a lake. In August, it was still freezing cold, and that's when that trip was. And I just remember teaching, having kids pass the swim test, because you never know if you're going to have to be swimming in Lake Superior. You better be able to tread water, and boy, was that cold. And I
It's an
did. I made
incentive to
sure
tread quickly.
tread quickly and
Yeah.
hopefully not long.
Yeah.
But it just beautiful, and the different islands that we would kind of dock at, and oh, so great. And then I think too of just some of the best sounds. We were up there, you and I, visiting one time
Yes.
down at Canal Park, and it
Yes.
was January, and it was
It
the
never got above
coldest.
0 degrees
Yep.
Fahrenheit. Never.
Yep. And I just remember here it would
tinkling
freeze over.
ice.
Yep, it would just tinkle, and like it was almost like someone was clinking glasses or something over and over. It was just the coolest.
Yeah, really, really neat.
My last great memory, I remember taking kids from Owatonna on a camping trip, and we stayed at a place called Lamb's Resort in Schroeder.
Hey, Lamb's Resort.
Yes, and we camped right down at the lake. So it was like Lake Superior. You unzip your tent in the morning and you'd walk out on the rock beach, and there's Lake Superior. It was just incredible. And what made it even better was we were up there during the Perseids meteor shower that year in August, and Northern Lights. And
just-
talk
wow.
about, I get goosebumps
Yeah.
talking about it right now. And the fact that these kids, even down in small town Owatonna, southern Minnesota, had never seen Northern Lights.
Yeah.
They had never seen the
Well, because
meteor
they live in
showers.
southern Minnesota.
You've got and you still
They're the northern lights.
well, this is true, but there's enough light pollution down there that
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it disturbs the view.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to...
And to hear these like 13, 14-year-olds amazed at what they were seeing when they looked up in the sky. And then knowing you're next to this body of water that is known by so many people. And it was truly great.
Yeah, it's an amazing place. And in future episodes, I know we're going to hear the words Lake Superior again, because
Yes.
we someday are going to be doing an episode about great Minnesota drives.
Yes. Highway
How many people are going to
61.
say Scenic 61? We're going to be doing an episode about resorts.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, how many people are going to bring up Lambs and Bluefin Bay?
Yeah.
And, I mean, all up and down.
State
Lutz
parks
and
all up
state
and down
parks.
up there.
We're going to be doing an episode about state parks.
Yeah.
We really want to hear people's input on what their favorites are and why.
North Shore, it's a big deal.
And again, just our listeners may be coming around to this fact that we love Minnesota, and we love things. So everything about it, whether it be hot dish or lakes,
Yep.
or our next episode,
Another great thing.
another great thing.
The great Minnesota get together.
Yes, the Minnesota State Fair. It's
coming up soon here, and next
will
week.
be our episode, but it's not for a couple of weeks at the time of this recording.
Might be good to prep.
We're going to be talking about new foods, old foods,
Trivia.
memories, trivia, all the that kind of thing. And we hope you'll listen to that as well. Please, again, a reminder, everyone, to please visit minnesotamedleys.podbean.com. Give us a follow if you would. Send us emails, minnesotamedleys@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook as well. We sure appreciate you tuning in and
Hanging with us and listening
listening, talking about lakes. So have a little lake memory for yourself. Share a lake story with somebody. I'm guessing they've got one too about their time up at the lake.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. Thanks,
See you
everyone.
then. Bye.
Bye-bye.